meds as much as you can. Yeah, it happened to me in Korea, and the feelings that like MST survivors feel is just one of like guilt, shame. Why did this happen to me? But you don't have to like feel alone, like if this happens to you, and I guess I'm just kind of like segue into the MST, but like you should reach out to somebody, because there's somebody out there just like you that this has happened to, for sure. It's just, I mean, like, healing isn't like pretending like about that the past didn't happen, right? It's like learning to live with it. Like any trauma, really, you have to live with it like in a way that doesn't like control you.
This is the Veritable Veteran Podcast, bringing truth and exposure to the struggles veterans and their families face post-military. Depression, anger, PTSD, suicide. Who am I? What do I do now? Hey guys, welcome back to the Veritable Veteran Podcast. Today we have a guest. It's Sarah. And Sarah is joining us. She reached out to me because she said she wanted to tell her story. She's a survivor of MST, which is military sexual trauma, for those that don't know. She's a survivor of that, and she wanted to tell her story, which most people that have experienced that don't want to talk about it for obvious reasons. So I'm very pleased that she wants to tell her story of survival and healing. And I'm really excited because it is such a problem in the military, and even in, just in a lot of other areas, but especially the military, and it needs to be addressed and it needs to be talked about. So Sarah, I'm really glad you're here. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, and welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for having me. Literally when I got your email on Wednesday, I was getting ready to go into the dentist's office, and I was like, oh, yay, I can talk about my story. And it's a good thing that we didn't do it on Wednesday, because like I had something going on, I had fracture or whatever, and my mouth was like,
Ooh,
and
yeah,
my whole thing was like this, like all day, but
yeah,
it was great, right? Yeah,
yeah.
no, so yeah, wow, like so much to tell, actually. I was in the Army. So the way I joined, it was just kind of weird. I grew up in a very, very small town in Wisconsin, so like 20,000 people, which I thought was very small. I have a twin
I was gonna say
sister.
the town I grew up in had less than 4,000 people. And I'm like, I used to think it was bigger than it was until I like started seeing the world. And I'm like, oh my word, I
Oh
grew
yeah.
up in like a village.
I know, like we used to go to grandma and grandpa's, and now when I think about where that is, because I still live in the same area that I grew up
Yeah.
in, so like lived here, traveled the world, came back, right? So, but yeah, I used to think, oh, we're going in mom and dad's car, like it's really far, but it really isn't far at all.
It's like 30
But
minutes. Like,
yeah,
it's so far.
oh my God, yeah. I have a twin sister, actually. And so that I'll tell you a little bit about that in just a second. But yeah, so I have a twin sister. And growing up, like, no, if you knew me, nobody would have ever been like, yeah, she's gonna join the Army. She's like a show choir person. I was in show choir. I played the clarinet. I hated that, by the way. Quit that right
My
away.
sister
I was like,
played the
oh my
clarinet. So.
goodness. Yeah.
Yeah.
And, everything music related, like I got really good at, I was actually, I went through high school, and obviously I graduated, and I thought, okay, like all my friends are going to college, so let me just go to college, blah, blah, blah. Right. So I went to UW Eau Claire, and I had just a great time. I got put on suspension right away because I had too much fun. But my major was music therapy. And so like I got a scholarship actually for piano and voice, because I've been playing piano since I was like
Wow.
5. Yeah.
Yeah.
So like I can listen to stuff and like just do it. So, and actually my youngest is 12, and he can do that too. He's pretty good.
Wow. Yeah.
But he doesn't want to do it. So I'm like,
Oh,
Well,
great.
he should do that. No, I don't know. He likes football, right? I don't know.
Yeah,
What
right.
else?
Oh, nerd. Who does
Nerd.
football instead of piano?
Piano. Come on, that's where it's at.
Right.
Yeah, and so, I did that, and I left college, in I'm gonna really date myself. 1993 is when I graduated high school. So I just joined the 50 club last year.
Yeah.
So that's me. Yeah, I'm 50. Yeah, so I worked like production. I did like third shift stuff, when I got back home. I moved back home, I was like 18. And, I was just going through the motions. And like one day, my dad was actually away. He was in Madison, like for a teachers convention or something, because both my parents were educators. And,
Hmm.
and he was gone all week. And I worked graveyard. So I had just woken up and then I answered the phone, like on the wall, right?
Yeah.
Actual phone.
One of those things that had a
Yeah.
cord and was attached to the
In
wall
the
and,
90s, right?
yeah.
And it wasn't for me. It was for my twin sister. And it was an army recruiter. And he's like, "Hey, is your sister there? And is Ann there?" And I was like, uh, no, she's at college becoming a CPA, she's an overachiever. And I was like, "Well, what do you got?"
Yeah.
So I ended up talking to this recruiter. I went down to the recruiting office like that afternoon, like before I went to work at 11:30 p.m. and I joined the army. So I
Wow.
signed up, but I signed up, yeah, in like a delayed entry program. So, I signed up in like February and then I didn't leave till April of 95. Oh, that was pretty crazy. So my dad comes home and he's like, "Hey, what'd you do this week?" And I was like, "Oh, like nothing much. I kind of like joined the army and stuff, Dad." And he's like, "You did what? Oh my God, you should have joined the Air Force." 'Cause he was in the Air Force, and I was like,
Oh, man.
whatever. He's like, "You didn't sign anything, did you?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm leaving in
Yeah.
April. Hello."
I signed everything.
Yeah, and so that was it. So, I packed up
That's
my
hilarious.
stuff, you know, and my family actually took, like, spring break down in Panama City Beach, Florida. So they were actually in Florida
Hmm.
when my recruiter came to pick me up in Neenah, and he took me to the bus station so I could take a bus down to the MEP station. So I was, like, completely alone,
No,
and
wait,
it's
hold on. You were oh, wait, no. Okay, so your family was in Florida and you
yeah,
were in Wisconsin. Okay, I thought you meant you were in
exactly.
Florida. I was like, "Whoa, how did that happen?"
Heck no, right? No.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, they were, like, all vacationing, and then it was just, like, me, and coincidentally, I had drove down to, like, Oshkosh to see one of my best friends, who was in college there, and I ended up getting in a car accident, like, on my way home. It was
My
raining,
word.
and,
Yeah.
I hydroplaned, somebody backed out of their driveway, it was a mess, so I had to leave my car in the driveway with a note on the kitchen table like, "Hey, Dad, sorry, I kinda wrecked my car. Be back in 4 months,"
Yeah, see you in a couple months. Bye.
"Bye." No.
Oh, my
Yeah,
word.
so
Welcome
anyway,
home.
I went to basic at Fort Jackson, relaxing, right? Relaxing
Yeah.
Jackson, South Carolina. Did the whole, gas chamber, all that. I was like, "Whoa," marksman, this and that. Actually, sharpshooter, pretty proud of that because
Nice.
I really like weapons. So anyway, so I shot sharpshooter, and I was a supply sergeant, so that was kind of fitting. So I finished basic, but actually it was kind of funny when I got to basic. It was April 18th, 1995, and if you remember what happened in April, it was the Oklahoma City bombing on that
Oh,
day.
yeah. Yeah.
We didn't find out until like a week later because we were in a holdover battalion.
Yeah.
And we didn't have any access to like news or anything. We didn't
Yeah.
have phones, and so the drill sergeant told us, later,
Wait, you
"Oh
didn't have
yeah,
your
this
cell phones
happened."
in boot camp? That's weird. I
No,
don't
yeah,
that's crazy.
nothing, right?
That
No,
blows my mi I'm sorry, I still can't. I went to boot camp in 2006. So, I mean, there
yeah,
were there were phones, like, people had cell phones, but they were,
really.
not Well, I had a flip phone, like not in boot camp. No, but what I mean is like there was zero connection with the outside world except for, letters, and that was it.
Yeah,
Yeah, so it blows my mind every time someone talks about having their phone in boot camp, and I'm like, this is
lucky.
yeah, completely foreign to me. I'm like, all right, good for you, I guess, but man, that's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah,
Sorry, please
it's
continue.
like
Yeah.
yeah, no, you're good. Yeah, it's so funny because, like, technology is just so crazy. Like, I see it with my kids too. They're just, like, plugged in. Sometimes you have to, like, sometimes I'll just turn off the internet, like, "Oops, I don't know what
Yeah.
happened.
Oh, it's gone. Oh,
My bad." No.
uh, that terrible
Um,
internet.
yeah. Sorry, guys. Yeah, so basic training, yeah, I was pretty cut off, from the world, and it was all good though. I survived, right? We all survived without phones and stuff. I
Yep.
did AIT at Fort Lee, Virginia, so quartermaster, 92 Yankee again. So yeah, I got a weekend pass one time because I think we were like top platoon or I don't know what it was, some junk. I can't remember. It was so long ago. And my battle
You did
buddy and
something right.
I, yeah, yeah, right. And my friend Stephanie and I, we went to Virginia Beach. Yeah, and it was fun, just for the weekend or whatever. And we came back and like on a Saturday, it was just like a day type of thing. And Sunday morning we woke up and on Sundays you would go to church, right? Because like you either go to church or you clean the latrines, right? So so
Yep.
I'm like, yeah, I'll go to church. Yay, like I grew up going to church. So I was like happy to go to church, but anyway, so I go to church with my battle buddy and we get back and, people are still cleaning. And I decided to sit down on my bunk and my, my sister had sent me a mixtape, a mixtape of my favorite music. And, I had a Walkman. Okay. So I had a Walkman. So I was like listening to this and I was like, this is really nice. And I was super tired. So I fell asleep on my bunk, and all of a sudden, the drill sergeant is like, "Private, wake up!" And I was like, "Oh my god, what the f is going on here?" And
No.
yeah, and I was like,
Uh,
"Sorry," So I was pretty upset though because he took my Walkman, and I mean, eventually, I'm sure I got it back, but I was like, "No, it's my one slice of home. Like, why
yeah,
are
I
you
was at
taking this
one
from me?"
one thing
Yeah.
from the normal world, and you just took it.
Like everything else has your last four on it, including your underwear, right? So it's
Yeah,
like,
yep. Okay.
so that was that. But yeah, after AIT, I came home for leave just for a little bit before I went to my first duty station, which was the 24th Infantry Division. That was great. Like I was like,
Where
hey,
is that? Where is that at? I don't even know actually.
yep, Fort Stewart, Georgia. So
Okay.
that was like before it was the 3rd Infantry Division. So, and I was there
Okay.
for that also. Yeah, that transition big hoorah, like ceremony, post ceremony thing, whatever. But
Yeah.
Rock of the Marne, whatever. Um, yeah, so I was at Fort Stewart for a while, and people always had a joke like, once you get to Fort Stewart, you can't escape it. I started, I started to think like, oh, it's really hot here, and it's like it sucks, but it's the army, and you have your buddies, so it's all good, but yeah, so I was at Fort Stewart. Yeah, we went to oh, Fort Irwin. Isn't it like by 29 Palms? Fort
Fort
Irwin,
Irwin.
Barstow,
Yeah, it would be. I don't know that I've
Mojave
ever heard
Desert.
of it or been there. Yeah, it's in the same area. It would be if
Okay,
it's near Barstow and the Mojave Desert. It would be. I've
okay.
never been there.
It sucks. You're not missing anything.
Yeah, if
Yeah,
it's anything
so
like
like
29 Palms, I mean, it's like,
yeah.
ugh,
I actually
yeah.
looked it up where it was again on the map, and I was like, it's kind of close to 29 pounds, but I don't know, but we went, they wanted to train us up for, like the desert, because basically that whole base, they did the Gulf War thing, and the MPs that were actually sharing the barracks with us had just come back from Kuwait. And so like this is again a long time in the 90s, whatever, but Yeah, so we went to NTC, and that was a hoot. We had to railhead all of our vehicles, and I was the driver for the XO, so I was like kind of, like whatever he wanted to do, I had to do it. So I had to put his name on the front of my Humvee, and his name was like really long, like
Uh,
Blockberger was his last name, like this lieutenant. Great guy. But yeah, I needed to like requisition a bunch of stickers for that because I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to fit it on here.
Why do you
Um,
need all these stickers? What are you doing?
I
I'm
know.
writing one name.
Yeah, just put XO on there. It's so
Yeah, right.
simple.
Yeah. Yeah.
But,
You would
that's
think.
the army
Yeah.
way, right? Do things harder,
Yeah.
right? Not smarter.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, we went to NTC. We did other stuff. We were always in the field though, like 100% of the time. I was either with a 50-pound ruck on my back, um, at the range, helping somebody from Charlie Company, field the new saw weapon because we got those saws when they were first fielded, so we had to like take them to the range, change the
Yeah.
barrels, get the bluing off, and they were like smoking hot, literally,
Yeah.
like they were
Literally. Yeah.
smoking.
All the packing
Um,
grease getting cooked off as you're just
oh
cranking through belts.
yeah, I like literally. So that was fun though. I really enjoyed that kind of stuff, and we also shot the Mark 19, and I shot pretty much every weapon and when we went and did all the armor stuff, but it was fun. And then but and I guess to like kind of what we're talking about, it just shows you like even in the 24th Infantry Division, like women are really kind of succumb to like integrate with like everybody there. So you're kind of like you kind of lose your identity as a woman. You kind of just try to assimilate with the culture and everything, like try to be tough, right? But sometimes you can't be tough, but it is what it is. Um,
So, and real
yeah,
quick, I just had a quick question.
yeah,
So your job was quartermaster, which is basically like the supply sergeant. Is that correct?
that's correct. Yeah, yep,
Okay. So you
yep.
did supply, but you were attached to the 24th Infantry Division.
Yeah. And so like
Okay.
my company was Alpha Company, 124th MI Battalion, so Military Intelligence Battalion. So we had like linguists and like 96 Romeos and stuff with the 113s and stuff like that. We would go out to the field and we do up for, and then I would have to get like chow or
Yeah.
the ammo or like I had an
Right.
IBM
Just all
typewriter, yeah, and I would
logistics.
have to, like, requisition on a card, like, an actual card, and I
An
still
IBM
remember
typewriter.
oh
That's
my
awesome.
god,
That's
IBM
awesome.
Selectric typewriter. I think it was, like, the DA Form 2765-1 or something, I don't know, I remember, but I have this thing with
That's
numbers,
hilarious. Yeah.
so yeah.
Well, when you fill out, 900 of them, it's you probably get used to reading it. So, yeah.
And they suck too because they had the carbon copy. So like there's no corrector fluid, So like if you screw
Right.
it up, like one NSN number is wrong, it's over, game over. You got to
Yep.
start over.
Yank it out. Start again.
Take it out. So but yeah,
Jeez.
just when I thought I couldn't get out of Georgia, I came down on orders for Korea. Mm, it was
Mm,
fun. Yeah.
yeah.
So my sergeant was like, oh, and he had like several kids. Like I think he had like also 6 kids. I think you had said you had 6 kids and stuff, but
Yeah. Yep.
um, awesome by the way. I hats off to you guys for that. I have problems with you, like they're great.
Yeah,
But
it's a
yeah,
riot. That usually, I mean, it's sometimes which riot can, in the traditional sense is, not a good thing. But my dad used to always say when he was having fun as a kid, he would always be like, "Oh, it was a riot." So I'm like, I like that term because it goes both ways. Like some days we're having a blast and it's a riot, like a fun riot, and other days it's like the riots you see on TV, just stuff getting thrown, people getting punched, like So it's a fitting term.
my gosh, that's so true. Oh my god, so true.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's a riot, like chaos, like
Yes.
organized
Yeah.
chaos, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
my sergeant, he was like hardcore, backwoods. His name was Sergeant Farmer. And he was a great guy, and he's like, I want to go to Korea. And I was thinking to myself, he does like want to get out of here. But, I was single and this and that. So I was like, well, all right. I don't even know anything about Korea because at that point, like the farthest that I'd ever traveled like from home was either that Georgia or like Florida when we went on our family vacations. I was like, what am
Hmm.
I doing? I'm going to Korea. That's like a totally different side of the world. Like, what
Yep.
am I going to do over there? So that was that. So I went to Korea. I actually ended up spending 4.5 years in Korea, not consecutively.
Wow.
But like the first tour, I did just like a one year unaccompanied tour, and both my tours were unaccompanied, but because I didn't get married until after I was out of active duty. But like, yeah. So the first time I went over there, and I was attached to another MI battalion, and that was fun, because we like did all kinds of cool like stuff with the Katusas. And the Katusa soldiers are like the Korean augmentee to the United States Army. It's like big acronym,
Hmm.
right? Everything acronym.
Yeah.
And so
Sure.
basically like
Mm.
KATUSA,
Oh yeah.
the
That's
augment.
interesting. I didn't know that. I've never heard that. So that's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. Very smart. Like all of these soldiers, very smart. Basically they're ROK Army soldiers whose parents have
Hmm.
more money, and they don't have to go to the ROK Army, so they get a better assignment to come work with
Ah.
us, like the U.S. soldiers. Well,
Yeah.
yay, right? No.
Yeah.
So like I had some Katusa soldiers. I had a squad. Um, and so we would go out and stuff, like down to Itaewon or Gangnam, or like even, we would take USO trips to like we went to like Mount Sorok once skiing. That was like super fun. We
That'd be
just did a
awesome.
bunch of stuff. So, but yeah, I did that. That was fun. And then I was there for a year, and then I got orders again to come back to the stateside. And then I went to Fort Meade, Maryland, and I was like, all right, okay, here I am, nation's capital. Like, what do we
Yeah.
do now? So, but
Right.
I was, because I was supply, I was attached to like just these random new units. So like my next unit was a combat support hospital. So we actually like we were attached to Walter Reed, Army Medical Center,
Wow.
and we
Yeah.
actually got activated. We had to go to we were on the fringe of going to Bosnia. So like that whole Bosnia Herzegovina stuff or whatever.
Hmm.
And we had this whole muster, and we packed our bags, this and that and everything. Yeah, I called my parents. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to Bosnia, blah, whatever. And they're like, oh my God. My mom's like, what? And I was like, it's fine. I'll be fine. It's all good. We're not like, I'm just supporting, look, well, we're combat support hospital. I was thinking to myself, oh, okay.
Yeah.
So we form up like literally the day like before we were going to go at 1700. And the first sergeant is there, and the command sergeant major comes out, and he's like, we're standing down, nobody's going anywhere. And everybody was like, what happened? We were like so pumped, like
Yeah.
we all went out and stuff to the NCO club, and we're all like, yeah, we're going to Bosnia. No, didn't go. Yeah, but it was for a reason.
And
So
it's so it cracks me up when you see or when you hear people talk about the efficiency of the United States military, and usually those people are not in the military or have never served in the military. And the United States military is very efficient at what it does. But it is mind blowing to me how many times things get switched or just like shut down at the last minute. Like the last minute. It's like, hey, we're loading up. Nope, just kidding. We're not going. Like, wait, what do you mean? Like, how did this just now come down? How did we
like,
just now find out that we're not going? Like, and I don't know if maybe they know for like days and they just don't want to say anything until they're 100% sure. I have no idea. It's just,
maybe. I
it
mean,
cracks me up.
yeah, like you can never
The
know. And
stories
it's
that
just
you
like,
hear. Yeah.
I
It,
mean, we went through the whole, like our barracks room, we inventoried stuff and packed our stuff and all this, and we had these connexes and this and that. No, nothing.
yeah. Nope. Did they
So,
ever say why? Like, was
okay.
it because another unit went or was it,
Yeah,
they
yeah.
just,
So like
okay.
another unit went, and then we were gonna be just like backup after that. And then this is why actually I think we didn't go, is because like a few months went by and then our unit actually got disbanded. So they went away like with our entire unit, the 48th Combat Support Hospital. So um we got to choose like where we wanted to go next. And I was like, yes, this is my chance. I get to go to Hawaii. I'm going to Hawaii, Mom. This is
Yes.
what I put it down on my like 3 choices: Hawaii, couple other places. I think I said like some place, I don't know, maybe like back to Fort Stewart, or whatever. Korea. Back to Korea I go. I
They're
was
like,
like,
yep.
oh,
Wishes
dang.
are cool. Wish lists are nice. They don't mean anything, but they're
They
nice.
don't mean anything. Yeah. So, and I learned that really
Yeah.
fast. I was like, they just like want us to go through the motions and
Yeah.
false hope or something. I don't know what you want to
It's
call
a
it.
semblance of, hey, we care. But
We
we're still
care
sending
about
you where we
you.
need you. Yeah. Yeah. we care about you. Don't worry. We have your interest at heart, but you're still going to
All the
whatever
time.
place we send you.
You're
Like,
still
we don't
government
care what you
property though, but
said.
we do care.
Yeah.
So that was
Yeah.
that, so I was like, fine, I'll go back to Korea, so I went back and then I just got really tired of like, PCSing all the time, like moving and this and that. So I just stayed over there. I stayed, I kept extending, and then they would like give you a bonus and, do you want like 30 days free leave or a free plane ticket home? And I was like, well, I don't have a lot of money right now. So just give me a plane ticket home, like round trip. And it was like at the time, I think it was like $1,200. So,
Yeah.
give me the plane ticket. I'll go home and stuff. And I actually had to go home one other time too. My dad had like emergency surgery. He had like prostate cancer. So I went home on emergency leave and I was literally, and he's totally fine now. Um,
Good.
but yeah, and I went home and I was literally like, it was a week, like back and forth. I literally saw the same stewardess on the United flight back and forth. And she's like, girl, you must be tired. And I was like,
Like,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, a little bit. Like,
Now that you mention it.
yeah, I guess I am a little bit tired, but yeah, I flew home. It was like monsoon season, so it was pouring, and that was probably the worst plane ride I ever had. Actually, it was like one of those flight attendants, take your seats now, and it's like,
Yeah. When the
we're
flight attendants are
here.
strapping in, it's like, yeah, this is gonna get rough.
It was rough. It was rough, but I had a good time in Korea though. The second time around, I was in a signal unit. The first time around was also fun. I had a buddy, a warrant officer, that he had some friends up at Camp Page, which is like a little bit closer to the DMZ, and they were pilots, Black Hawk pilots. So, like before I left, actually, I forgot to say, before I left the last time from Korea, they're like, he goes, yeah, if you want, I can hook you up and we can give you a helicopter ride. And I was like, well, that sounds pretty fun. Okay, sounds good, whatever. So I get all my gear on, whatever, and I'm in Yongsan, so like Seoul. So I had to take a train up to Chuncheon, which is at like dark 30 in the morning. But I went up there and I met some other people that we had like a satellite office up there. And it was cool though. We did a reconnaissance flight of the 64 corridors of the DMZ. So we did radio checks of like every single corridor. And it was like 4.5 hours in this Black Hawk. And
Oh,
it
wow.
was January. It was
That was
super
chilly.
cold, Evan. Like I can't even tell you how cold I was. And back in the day, like we didn't have Bluetooth. So I had these like huge headphones on and like the cable was like running out the window and there was like this much window open. It was like,
Yeah.
like full bear
Just,
suit, like
yeah.
CIF issue, like bear suit and everything. But that was fun. We did the radio checks and these two warrant officers, they were just, I heard them on the headphones. They're like talking back and forth. They're like, hey, watch out for that pterodactyl or stay on the right side of the road. The other one's the no-fly zone or something. And I'm like, are these guys serious? can we go home now? No, but it was fun. It was fun. And the second time was also it was fun too. But yeah, yeah. And then, I ETS'd from Korea. Actually, I flew home when I ended active duty. It was December 13th. It was a Friday. Friday the 13th. I flew home, and this is really fitting, and you can't even make this stuff up. I got home and I'm in Chicago, and my parents are like in Appleton waiting for me. Like my mom's waiting for me at the airport. And I'm going through customs, and they're like, "I'm sorry, they're like looking at you, got to go over there." And I was like, "What did I do?" Okay. So I'm like over there, and they're asking me all these questions. It turns out I had a speeding ticket that I didn't pay, like way back when I was at Fort Stewart, and it kind of caught up with me. And they're like, when you get home to Nina, you're going to have to go right to the police station and pay that. I was like, "Oh, sorry."
Boy.
Oh yeah, that was on top of that, I also had a library fine from like when I was in high school that never caught up with me. And that it was just like, you know, what the heck?
Yeah.
What is
What
going
is
on
this?
here?
Like, come on.
Yeah. So, and then also very importantly was 9/11, also when I was stationed in Korea. So that was just a CF, like big
Yeah.
time. Excuse me. It was
Yeah.
nuts because you know, we found out about it like at midnight. And my roommate at the time, because I was a sergeant, so I was living off base at the time. We had like an apartment, and we paid, Adashi won like every month. We would get like a housing allowance, and they'd come up on a little moped and stuff. But um,
That's awesome.
she like, yeah, it was funny. She woke me up at like midnight. She's like, "Sarah, you got to come out here." She was from El Paso. She's like, "Y'all, my God, like, you gotta come out here and see this." And if she ever watches this, her name was Wendy. I loved her, and I don't know where she is anymore, but like, she was so funny. She's like, "You just gotta come out here and see this. This is crazy." And literally, we were sitting on the floor, and this like Korean broadcaster was like, "Lundadidadu, YTN la la, hamduru," and boom, like that. And I was like,
Yeah.
"What is that?" Ah,
Like
man.
zero language, recognition, but 100% understood
Like,
exactly what was being said. Like no idea what they're
exactly.
saying, but I know what they're saying.
Yep, yep.
Yeah.
And, and she was the troop medical clinic NCOIC at the time, so for Yongsan down in Seoul. So like she goes, "Oh shit, we're going to war, Sarah." And I was like, "Yeah, probably." And I was
Yeah,
like,
seems
"Yeah,
pretty likely.
yeah, it's a definite maybe." Yeah.
Yeah.
But at the time, I was already ACAPing, so I was like already like in the process of getting out, and I kept thinking to myself, I was like, maybe I shouldn't get out, maybe I should stay in. And then, but I was already like in the process, but my MOS was a stop loss MOS. So like if I
Yeah.
hadn't been getting out, I wouldn't have been able to get out anyway. But so
So
I
was it
separate. Hmm.
was it because you were already like deep into the process of getting out that you were able to
Yeah.
get out? Okay.
Yeah.
Because
Yep.
I was curious about that if you would have gotten stop lost, but
Yeah, yeah, and actually, it's like if you're overseas in the army, like the ACAP process starts like a year out. So they want you, and they say they're gonna like do all this stuff for you, like, "Hey, here's how you write a resume, and here is this, and here you go, here you go."
yeah,
Like it doesn't help really. You
you're
just pretty
prepared
much,
now.
yeah,
You are
you're
ready to
good.
leave the army. Like, oh,
Yeah,
okay. Yeah.
yeah. Here's your
Fly,
DD2.
little bird. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so yeah, yeah. I mean, she ended up going over to she was in Fallujah actually. She was over there doing her clinic stuff, and she wrote me a couple letters over there. She saw some stuff over there, and but we corresponded back and forth. And then one of my other best friends, we were stationed together in Korea, and then she went airborne. So she went to the 82nd, And she also went over there too, and she would like pick up the sat phone sometimes, and she'd like call me when she got a chance or whatever. But yeah, so part of me, I always felt like, maybe I should have gone over there, but then I always know that I did enough, right? Like I did what
Hmm.
I could do, and I should be proud of that. And you helped me realize that too, your podcast, and I always think about that. I should be fine. I'm fine.
I
But,
I still I still struggle with that. I mean, because I didn't get in until 2006, and I wish that I could have gotten in, before, and then when I got in, I didn't get into infantry like I wanted to, so I didn't end up going to Iraq when all the heavy fighting was going on, and, that's a good thing looking at it
yeah,
now, but at
right.
the time, I was like, "I'm missing out on everything," and, so I I still, struggle with feeling like I did enough, and just even the stuff that I got to do, and I got to do a lot of stuff, and I got to do what I wanted to do. It's, but I still sometimes I sit there and think, I maybe I could go back and do some more, and then I start really thinking about it, and I'm like, it wouldn't matter. I'd still end up thinking I didn't do enough, or I could have done more. It's, you know, could have been
Yeah.
there for 20, 30 years, and I'd still sit there and go, I probably could have done more. And it's like, dude,
Yeah.
can you just be satisfied? Like, be content. You did enough. Like,
Yeah.
just,
Oh
you
my
did what you
god.
were told to do, and, but I get it. I mean, it
Yeah.
even, I talk about it all the time, and I still struggle with it. So it's
Struggle.
not
Yeah,
just you, it's everybody, I think.
I think so. I mean, it's probably, a little bit of everything, just like the camaraderie and the structure and the sense of purpose, and, the routine alone. Like, when you get out of the service, you got to make your own routine.
Yep.
You have all these responsibilities. You got to get the health insurance, pay the mortgage, and find out where you're going to eat your next meal. I mean, it's like
Yep.
people on the outside, like, they don't really think about all those things, but it's actually a huge adjustment. It's not something that
Mhm.
ACAT can help you with.
Yep. Yeah. Yep.
But, yeah, so it's a big adjustment. I was out and I was like, "Okay, I'll pay my library fine and my speeding ticket and be all good with that." And then I went to college. Excuse me, on my GI Bill. So I used up that entire thing and I got my degree in international. I had to even think about it. International relations, right? Like I got my bachelor's in international relations, and then I minored in anthropology at University of Wisconsin Oshkosh, which was literally like a half hour from my parents' house. But I still lived in Oshkosh. I was, like, living on my own for so long, like, I can't live in my parents' house
Yeah,
anymore.
going back is,
Yeah, I
that's
was like, "Uh,
not usually an option.
no, not at all." So I was like, But, I really missed the Army. I hardcore missed the Army. So I joined the reserves. I did it. I
As one
joined the
does.
reserves. I was like, "Sign me up. Where can I sign up?" So I did that, and since I was in college, I decided to go green to gold. Now fast forward, that never really metastasized anything. I decided at the end that I didn't want to be an officer, and no offense to officers, because one of my bestest friends is a retired lieutenant colonel, and she's amazing. She lives in Virginia now. I actually just got a package from her the other day. Um, but my professor of military science was very shocked. He's like, "Oh my god, you're not gonna be an officer? Like, what are you talking about?" And I was like, "I just wanna be a staff sergeant. Like, I really like being a staff sergeant." And,
Yep.
because I got promoted to staff sergeant, and then, that was, like, really great, and I was getting ready to go to BNOC, and, I started to get sick, actually. So, like, when I was active duty, I kinda had some issues where I would, like, randomly pass out. And it was very sporadic. So, like, the first time I passed out, was in formation, and then a bunch of other times, like, I would just pass out and then wake up, and I'd be like, "What the hell just happened to me?" Like, "This is so crazy." And they obviously, what does the military say when you pass out?
Drink
You're
water.
dehydrated. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. And I was like, I'm not dehydrated, guys. Like, I didn't say those exact words, but I was like, what the heck? Like you don't even whatever. So anyway, that's actually one of my disability claims that is pending right now from like however many decades ago, but I'm still like going through this whole process. I have a pacemaker now.
Wow.
So I had to get out. Yeah, I'm on my second pacemaker. Um
Now,
that's
is
a
that did they ever figure out what was causing that?
Yes. So it started in service. Basically, they call it supraventricular tachycardia. It's like really rare. Basically, like when you're exercising like a lot, my heart
Hmm.
rate would just like skyrocket to like
Yeah.
160 and then 40. Like I would almost completely flatline. And
Yeah.
actually,
That.
I
Wow.
almost did flatline once. Actually twice. I almost died twice. Once in the army because I was like getting a cortisone injection in my foot I broke my foot in Korea. It was really stupid how it happened. But it was on the 4th of
I was
July.
I was
Uh,
wounded in the
I
army.
was
It's like,
wounded. I was super
I,
wounded and I broke
yeah, I
my
was
foot.
super
Yeah,
wounded.
right? And actually, just a
Uh,
little segue that's super funny because I hobbled to the bus that day. It was the 4th of July. It was like a 4-day weekend. And I got to the 121 hospital, and there was a Korean male nurse on there on duty because all the soldiers were off. And I was like, sir, I broke my toe or something because my toe by this time, what happened was in the middle of the night, my phone rang. And by the time I got up to get it, there was nobody there. And to this day, I think it was like somebody from my roommate. But my pinky toe got caught in the bed spring, and when I landed on my
mm,
foot, it was like it was pretty bad. So like I had forgotten all about it. So the next like later on in the morning when I finally woke up from our midnight festivities, I forgot about it, and I was gonna walk down the hall to the latrine, and I stepped on my foot, and it went like that. And
uh,
I was like, "Oh man, this really
I don't
hurts."
think it's supposed to make that noise.
No, no. So the Adashi, the Korean guy was like, "You no break toe, you break foot."
Oh,
I was like,
noted.
"Hey then," like literally, I to this day he said that exactly to me. He's like, "You no break toe, you break foot, right foot, you break right foot." And I was like, "Okay, so what do you like do
Uh,
for that?" "You need
yeah.
a cast." And I had a cast, and it was hot, obviously July. It was freaking super hot, like getting ready to be monsoon season. So here's me in my supply room with like a wire hanger, like trying to itch the crap out of my
Yeah.
leg
Yeah.
because, whatever. I had this like cast on, then I was on
Mm.
profile before I could run again, all that stupid stuff. But yeah, like I don't even know where I was going with it. But yeah, the pacemaker, right? So yeah, I
Well,
had
yeah.
to use cortisone injection, but it passed out in Korea, passed out at drill, passed out a bunch of places, passed out on my wedding day, to be honest.
Yeah.
On my wedding day. And finally, I was like, I can't do this anymore. I was under the care of a cardiologist and electrophysiologists are like, you should just get a pacemaker. And I was like, you say that just like it's no big deal.
Yeah. Come on, it's fine. Just
Yeah. And at the time I was 30, and you know, I was like, I don't want to get a pacemaker. Like, I'll have to get out of the army if I get a pacemaker, but I was on profile. So I was like doing the whole 2.5-mile walk instead of, the 2-mile run. And I already felt like
hmm.
broken. I was like, man, I'm never going to go to BNOC or anything. And
Yeah.
so I just had to get out. But I got out in November of 2007. And yeah, it was it. So that's kind of how
Yeah.
it ended. And then, a
Yeah.
year later, I got my pacemaker and I was like the youngest person in the telemetry wing. It was just
Yeah, I'll
weird.
bet. I mean, you're
It was
being
weird.
30 years old and needing a pacemaker, like, that's not
Mhm.
normal at all. I mean, that's
No.
you just get a pacemaker. It's okay. Yeah, let me just, like
Wha
like it's just
Like
that's like
what?
get a pair of glasses. Like, oh, okay, I'll just go get a
Yeah,
pair of
let me just
glasses.
go down and get it online,
Yeah, let me just
pacemaker.
get my prescription. I'll go pick it up. Like, geez, like, Like, this is like life changing. Like, come on. Oh my word.
No,
Just go get it.
I
Yeah,
was
it's
just
fine.
like, and they're like,
Do they
well,
carry those at the pharmacy at Walmart? Did I just pick one
yeah,
up?
right. Yeah, I should have asked there. Thinking about this
Can I
stuff
just pick one
later,
up?
like I could have saved
Yeah.
all that money and time. But yeah, well, at the time, before I got this pacemaker, when I had gotten out of the army and I was in the reserves, I was working for Oshkosh Defense. So I was flying to Kuwait. Like I flew over to Kuwait like 8 times, and we had these like refurbishment contracts where we would like repair battle damaged trucks and this and that. And so we had like a huge operation over there. So I would go over and audit that for government property, because since I was supply, I got this job as government property. So I was doing all that. So finally, like, I'm flying home and I was like, I just can't do this anymore. Like, I would literally feel like by 10 a.m. that I was like running a marathon or something. I was so tired.
Yeah.
So I just got the pacemaker and I called it good. And I haven't passed out since then.
Good.
So it's probably working, but
Yeah. Well, that is good. I mean, because I mean,
yeah,
it'd be horrible if it was one of those things where you get a pacemaker and it's like doesn't do anything, and it's like, oh,
oh
great.
my
Well, that was
God.
pointless.
Like, that's pointless. Now I have
Yeah.
these like two leads in my heart that can never be ripped out.
Right. Yeah. I just have
There's like
wires and
scar
stuff in my
tissue.
chest, and
Yeah. So
yeah,
I'm like, great.
my word.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So was that like a VA thing, or was that like a civilian doctor thing? And then
Yeah. So that was my civilian doctor. And then
good.
I was kind of,
I don't know that I'd want a VA
it,
doctor cutting into my heart.
no. And yeah. So I had an electrophysiologist from Milwaukee. He was like a partner of my cardiologist up here in Oshkosh. And so like they worked together and they're like, yeah, she needs a pacemaker. And I was like, whatever. Okay. And then his nurse called me and the nurse was like, well, we could fit you in on Monday. This is like a Thursday. And I was like, well, I, I don't know how many of these you do a day, but like, I need to like put in like short-term disability at my company because I'm going to be out
Yeah.
for a while. And well, when you call us, we'll get you in like in a couple days. And I was like,
Again, they make this sound like it's just like a tooth removal. Like, we're just gonna, you'll be fine.
yeah,
You'll be in and out, like outpatient.
right.
And
Yeah.
maybe I don't know. I've never dealt with pacemakers. I don't even know anybody that has one.
Uh-huh.
What was that like? Was it like a inpatient, like you were there for a while and had to recover, or was it like
Yeah,
a
so I
here it is
mean,
and
it was, I went in, I had the pacemaker done in the morning and I just stayed like one night in the hospital. And I wasn't able to sit up because the leads were like setting or something like that into the heart muscle. I have like a
yeah,
dual lead pacemaker, so like top and bottom chamber, and then it just paces like when I have like a little AFib or something like that, I guess.
yeah,
No, I don't really. I mean, I feel it like when it does pace, like in my neck, I'll feel like a little flutter and stuff, but not as much as I would think I would have been using it. But I mean, that's fine
yeah,
too. I mean, since then I would, do some running and this and that, but I mostly am a yoga person now.
yeah.
Yeah, I like yoga, low key,
Right.
breath work, Zen stuff, try to calm myself down sometimes. But yeah, so yeah, but also like the military was great, right? And but like we were saying earlier, the army is also a place of trauma, right? Trauma as well, and because we're talking about MST, like that actually happened to me when I was stationed in Korea. um it was really like it was really difficult like for a long time because this happened like in 97, I think. Yeah, like 1997. It's been a minute, and I literally didn't even remember any of this stuff until I started going over my medical records with my veteran service officer when I was doing my disability claim, and I was like, holy crap, like that stuff all happened to me. And so right now I'm going through cognitive processing therapy, and it's really helping. Like I actually go through the VA. My doctor is amazing. She's great. I've been going since like for probably 2 months now. So we're kind of deep into the whole like exploring all of the details, and you got to read your story and your
Yeah.
experience as much as you can. But yeah, it happened to me in Korea, and you know, the feelings that like MST survivors feel is just one of like guilt, shame, like why did this happen to me, but you don't have to like feel alone like if this happens to you, and I guess I'm just kind of like segue into the MST, but like you should reach out to
Hmm.
somebody because there's somebody out there just like you that this has happened to for sure. It's just, I mean, like healing isn't like pretending like about what that the past didn't happen, right? It's like learning to live with it. Like any trauma, really, you have to live with it like in a way that doesn't like control you anymore. And CPT has like really helped me kind of zone in on like what they call stuck points. If you've heard of what stuck points are and stuff, like, stuck points are like, I can't trust anyone, or everybody is bad, or just it's an all or nothing scenario. And the
Right.
process of like repairing and healing from MST is learning how to understand that like all people can't be trusted. Is that really logical? Like, I can trust you. I can trust, Elvis. I can trust my kids. I mean, it's like that's not reasonable, So like it's really a logical thing that you just think about, and you have to really like train your brain to just kind of like accept that yes, this did happen, but then also understand that the process of healing is not like clean or perfect. It's like slow, it's messy, there's setbacks, and but you just gotta like believe in yourself that, there is healing and growing, and, it's okay if you like have to figure it out as you go. It's about, you know, carrying the hard parts of the trauma, but not letting it define you, I guess, is what I'm kind of saying. So,
Hmm.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I know you said that you didn't remember it. Do you think is that because you think that your body just like and your mind kind of shut it out?
Oh,
Or
yeah.
was it because, and I'm not saying that you were like heavily intoxicated or anything like that. I don't know. Do you think that had something to do with it? Or was it more of your body just being like, I'm not remembering this?
So I think it was a little bit of both. Now, part one, it was my birthday. I was drinking, but I was not heavily intoxicated. But I think that from what I can gather from my therapy and everything, I feel like somebody probably gave me a drug in my beer or something like that. So what happened was that happened, and like a big chunk of just the whole trauma event is completely missing for me. So like I can't remember like from this point to the next morning. Like all I know is that like I had 10,000 won in my pocket, and I had a basic knowledge of Korean, and I got myself a taxi back to base. And I just remember like when I was walking back onto post after the Korean taxi dropped me off, because they can't drive on post because it's, yeah, they're Korean taxi. But like I saw my first sergeant, right? And he's like, "Hey, happy birthday, Sergeant." I think at the time I was a specialist. He's a specialist DuFour, and I was like, "Oh, thanks for sergeant," and I just like walked home, and I was tired, and I took a shower, and I just went to bed. And that was it. Like, I should have like you think about these things like, "Oh, I should have gone to the MPs, or I should have told somebody." But it's really hard because people who like suffer and live through like a MST, it's all about like, well, what if people think something of me, or what if I get like UCMJ action, or what if I get kicked out of the army, or
Yeah.
um I'm going to like Soldier of the Quarter board. Like, what if I don't get Soldier of the Quarter? It's like a lot of that. And also, I'm not saying it's just women either. I'm sure plenty of men suffer MST as well. And, or other types of trauma. And, especially like I hear of it happening in basic training, and, what soldier is going to want to be like, the drill sergeant, did this to me, and, like, they're gonna think 100% they're gonna kick me out of the Army, and I'm not gonna be able to do anything. So, there's a huge stigma behind MST, and it really is sad because it's it's a crime, you
Hmm.
know? It's
Yeah.
horrible, and to, like, survive something like that, it's just once you find your people, like, you can talk to people about this, the healing begins when that happens. And the first step is actually just like trying to reach out to somebody, like, talking to somebody, um, and just, letting everybody know that, you don't have to like suffer alone. There's like things out there that you can like, reach out to the VA. They have actually a really good mental health program. Um, or you can just even talk to like a social worker, or your
Hmm.
pastor, at church, or, if you don't even feel comfortable talking, to like a family member, you can talk to somebody, like pick up the phone, the crisis line, or, you don't have to be like suicidal to pick up the crisis line. You can call that.
Right. Yep.
But yeah, it's, it's like I said, the healing it's not like a process that's like clean or perfect, or it's like you get a workbook and it's like slow and it's messy and you got to like figure out like, why do I think this way? Just kind of like be okay with what happened, but then also like not blaming yourself too. So that's like the most
Yeah.
important part of the whole healing process. Yeah. Yeah. I would say. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that's
Uh-huh.
one thing that I think a lot of people, they don't understand why, because the majority of it, from what I understand, doesn't get reported.
No.
And
Mm-hmm.
and they still say that, I mean, it's the statistics from the VA, they say like 41, you know, over 41% of women in the military have reported some type of MST. That's just the reported, you know,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
ones. And they know that there's more. They just, there's a lot of issues with reporting and getting it reported. And, you know, I've heard so many stories, just from even my time and just other people that I've talked to that were in the military, just talking about how it was reported and nothing was done, or it was reported and there was,
Yeah.
retaliation for it, and it's
Absolutely.
like, it, that's the biggest, I mean, it's such
It's
a
horrible.
problem.
It's a
Yeah,
it's a
that,
big problem.
yeah, that someone would be open enough to say, "Hey, like, this happened, like, this is," and one, it's not okay ever, like, never okay.
No, yeah.
And then all of a sudden it's like, well, turns out we don't care and we're not gonna do anything because this person is a great soldier or a great Marine or a great sailor, and it's like, that that doesn't matter one bit, they still committed this crime,
Yeah.
and,
Yeah.
I'm the victim, and then they still end up, victim shaming and victim blaming, and then, you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
It's
it
horrible. I mean,
yeah,
well, one of my friends who was actually deployed in Iraq was a victim of MST. And she was victimized over when she was deployed. I mean, it happened in
yeah,
Iraq. She just, and she never reported it. But this happened to her, and she's like, "Well, I didn't wanna report it because I was supposed to be promoted to sergeant first class or this or that." And
yeah,
I'm like, "Girl, like, I understand you, but yeah, like, I get that, and it's just, like, the fear of retribution or, like, retaliation or, yeah, shaming, like, "Oh, you let that happen. Like, how could you let that happen?" What were you like? Were you drunk or, you just
right,
like asking for it or whatever, like there's all those questions that like as a woman run through your head. Like, was I wearing something where like they wanted to like do that, or, because at the time, and, especially if you're not remembering like all the details, it's really hard to fill in the blanks. And so you just kind of have to like tell yourself, like, did I ask for this? No. And I mean, for me, it's just about like, I reached out to somebody, and I have a counselor, a doctor right now that I'm talking to. And I mean, she's very helpful. And, and I have, and most VA centers have this too. There's a women's group at the VA. And so like we meet like weekly, every Monday in person at the VA, which is really nice. There's another organization. I think I may have mentioned this at some point, but it's called
Hmm.
SOS,
Yeah. Yep.
Shield of Sisters. Yeah. So Shield of Sisters, and they're on like social media, like Facebook. You can look it up, Shield of Sisters. And they're located in Texas, Tennessee, and also Wisconsin right now. So it's kind of like a new thing. And basically, it's just MST survivors. They have retreats, and I'm actually going on one like next month. And I'm super excited because I've never been on one. So I had like a really nice phone conversation with a lady from Texas like a couple days ago, and she was just
Yeah.
super nice. And she had been to one, and she's like, you're really gonna love it. And they just call you and do like an intake to just make sure you don't have like any special requirements or a service dog or whatever the case is. And but very nice. And there are people out there like that are willing to help you. It's just taking the first step is just really hard.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't want you to, when I asked the question about whether there had been like if you had been intoxicated or anything, that wasn't a question of, and I think you understand this, but I want to just reiterate this to the audience as well.
Mhm, mhm.
That's not a question of like, well, what did you do to put yourself in that situation? My question is more along the lines of why did your body not remember it? Like,
Right.
why is
No.
your mind just protecting you from it? Or
Mhm,
was it like you said, like was it like was a drug involved or something where you were like
mhm.
incapacitated? Because I'm fascinated by, I read a book and it was written by a VA doctor. It was The Body Keeps the Score,
I've
and a
heard of
lot of
that book.
people. It's a really really good book. I would encourage anybody if you're even remotely interested in mental health at all or just psychology. It's a really good book.
Okay.
It's written really well and super knowledgeable and very helpful for understanding what your body does and why your body does certain things. And he talks a lot about how trauma just causes your brain to, it's like there's just sections of your brain that are just almost like redacted, like a redacted
Mhm.
document where it's just like blacked out. And it's a defense mechanism because your mind is like, "Mm, nope, don't like that." And we just,
Yeah.
we put it away and we're like, we are not going there. And then the problem is it's still there. And it's like
Mhm.
in the last podcast episode that I did, the lady that I was talking to, Kat, the one who does she's a therapist. She
Yeah,
said
yeah.
it's a lot like the movie Inside Out, where they have the balls that go down the tube and then they go into long-term storage.
Mhm.
And she said different types of therapy or different types of trauma will cause one of those balls to get stuck in a tube or to get put somewhere that it doesn't have a place because
Mhm.
it's just this, we don't know what to do with it. Our mind is like, we don't want this, but I can't get rid of it. So what do I do? We'll just put it over here in the corner. And then any other traumatic memories that are, particularly traumatic get put over there as well. And until they're dealt with properly, they just stay there and they just cause problems. They get in the way, they gum things up, they slow things down, they throw a wrench in everything. And
Everything.
yeah. And the processing, the therapy, being able to process it takes it from this jumble of memories like flashes of sights and sounds and smells and tastes and feelings and just senses, and it kind of stretches it into a cohesive, coherent chain of events
Yep.
chronologically from beginning to middle to end. And then you can take it and put it on the shelf of long-term memory and be like, okay, now it has a place. It happened to me. It was terrible. It should never have happened, but it's over. And then
Exactly.
that's the goal of, processing these traumatic memories, is to be able to reintegrate it into a an event that happened, not something that keeps happening in your mind. And that's,
Exactly. That's like,
and yeah.
you hit it like right on the head with that, because I mean,
And that was her analogy. And I told
yeah,
her, I love that movie, both movies, Inside Out,
they're
because they
so
are
good.
very, very good at
Like
describing.
anxiety.
Yeah, oh yeah, that was then when Anxiety was perfect, and then when she's in the penalty box and she's having a panic attack, that's the best example of grounding I've ever seen in my life, because
Oh,
they
100%.
emphasize her breathing, and then they
Yeah.
emphasize she's touching the seat, and she's listening to the sounds of the skaters, and she's hearing her own heartbeat, and she's grounding herself. And I was like, that right there, if anybody ever wants to know what it is, that is the perfect example of what grounding looks like. And that was really good. So I have my own, feelings on Disney and everything else, but they hit it out of the park with those ones. So
Yeah,
those are really
that's
good.
100%. I mean, when you are able to, take the traumatic event and then dissect it like that and understand that, like, even if you have to like mentally just think of it as this happened, this happened, this happened, and you know what? It happened a long time ago. So therefore, yes, it happened. It wasn't my fault. I did what I could with the information that I had at the time. And, all of the things that, have gone on in my life, like since then, I mean, just difficulty, trusting men sometimes, particular men, not Elvis, but like, my ex-husband, I had a really hard time trusting him, but that was like a different thing. And he, was a great guy overall, but it just didn't work out. But like, it just, like when you get to the meat and potatoes of the healing process, like you see all of the events and it starts to make sense. Like, oh, okay, maybe I act that way because of what happened there. And you start to try to kind of like identify with like the event. That's why I feel like this. But once you logically are able to identify that, then you can, like you said, put it on the shelf and be like, okay, I got it. Like, I'm just going to put that over here, on the shelf. It happened, but it doesn't define me as a person. Like, I am a much better person than those past experiences. Now I can move forward with the second century or second half century of my life,
Yeah.
and,
Yep.
enjoy life, right? Yeah, like, live life, like be present in the moment and not like have this like cloud like over you thinking like I should have done this or I did this
Yeah.
wrong or this, So it's all about like mindset, and I think that book probably I'm gonna have to pick that book up. The Body
It's
Keeps
a
the
really
Score.
good book. It's
I'm gonna
really
pick it
good.
up.
Yeah, it's Bessel van der Kolk. He's
I'm
like
writing it down right now.
Swedish, I think. I think he's Swedish. It's actually on my website at one of the resources as a recommended reading. It's a really good book. I tore through that book, and there's actually there's an Anglican priest that works at the VA as a chaplain. And I did an interview with him. I couldn't put it on the podcast because he didn't have permission to come on the podcast from the VA, but we did an off the record interview, and I mentioned that book, and he picked it up like from right on his desk, and it had like all these tabs in it. And he's like, I've this book is like my manual for helping people. So it's,
Yeah,
and I've talked to several other people that I just mentioned the book, and they're like, oh yeah, I've read that like twice, and it's really
yeah.
good. So it's a really good book.
I just
And
wrote
it
it down too.
Yeah. If
I'm
you
gonna
like to read, and if you like, reading about mental health, and it's not all about therapy and, like all the like high level doctor speak. It's a very well-written, down-to-earth definition and explanation of how trauma affects your body and how
Mm-hmm.
your body responds. Because it's your body, like the one guy, he said, okay, perfect example. This guy was doing um, breathing exercises,
Mm-hmm.
and during the one breathing exercise, they were rotating their body. And as he rotated to the right side, he would have a pain in his ribs. And he was like, why am I having what is going on? And he brought it up because they were working on mindfulness and just working on being mindful of what their body was telling them. And
Yeah.
he said, I've got a pain in my right ribs, like in my ribs. And they're like, okay, did you have an injury? Like, did you ever hurt yourself? He's like, no. And through the course of them talking about it, he found out that his mom, when she was pregnant with him, had fallen and broken her right ribs, like some of the ribs on her right side.
Oh, wow.
And his body stored that as just a pain point in his
Yeah.
mind and in his body. And it was like every time he, kind of went to that side, he started feeling that pain. So it's, we've got, and there's some kids at a school that I work at that they had some pretty traumatic um birth stories. Their mother, like they're adopted, and their birth mother was, heavy into drugs and stuff. And he this child has a lot of issues, and everybody's like, well, he's defiant and all this other stuff. And he needs to be on ADHD meds. And I'm like, guys, you can't even understand what his body is storing from his mother. Like
Mm-hmm.
the fact that she was on meth the entire time that he was in her body, you know, we have no idea what his body is storing from that traumatic experience. Just it's supposed to be a nurturing, like loving experience of being, that
Bonding and
close to
stuff.
bonding with your mother and, being
Yeah.
inside of her and become, you're basically one with her until you separate. And then it's just this really intense bonding experience. And for him, it wasn't, and he literally had to get weaned off of, you know, methamphetamines like a drug addict. And, I
That's
was like, guys,
crazy.
and then
Wow.
it's just, and he's the sweetest little boy. I mean,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
he has such a hard time regulating his emotions. And I'm like, well, no, duh. Like the kid's got, trauma up to his ears, and it's just, and I mean, but he hasn't had, from what I understand, he has a very solid home life. He has, very good parents, very loving family. And it's like these people are like, "Well, I just don't understand why he's struggling." He has a loving home life. And I'm like, "It has nothing to do with his home life. It has
No.
everything to do with his mind and his body storing the trauma that happened to him before he was ever even born."
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's yeah, so it's a really good book, and it's really
Mhm.
opened my eyes to trying to help understand just different people, that some people, especially kids, they look at them and they're like, we can't help them. They're just, defiant, and they're just,
Right.
and it's like, there's a lot more to it than
Yeah.
just behavior,
Yeah.
and but in the book, he talks a lot about how a lot of the effects of trauma have been ignored for just
Mm.
decades by science and by mental health practitioners, because it's like, well, we'll just diagnose this kid with oppositional defiance disorder. And it's like, okay, maybe he has that. Like, that's a thing, but it could also be because of some trauma that they had before. And if we're not addressing the trauma, diagnosing him with oppositional defiance disorder is like you're treating a symptom.
Yeah.
We're
You're
just
just like
treating
putting a Band-Aid
symptoms.
on it, you know?
Yeah, you're
It's
putting a Band-Aid on, you know,
yeah.
internal bleeding. And it's like,
Yeah.
okay, cool. You stopped nothing except, you numbed them with some
Yeah.
medication. So
Yeah. That's
I wanted
interesting
to
that
ask another,
you
or go ahead.
that
Go ahead.
yeah, no, that's interesting that you bring that up about the medication because, I feel like it's, the way the world is and stuff, like everybody just wants like a pill, to feel better or this or that. Like, when you have trauma, your doctor will be like, "Oh, do you want anti-anxiety meds?" It's like, you know, or antidepressants or whatever, like I used to be on anxiety medication, but I didn't want to do that anymore because, well, number one, it was giving me dry mouth and I was getting like cavities up to wazoo. I was like, this
Ugh.
sucks. Like my teeth used to be
Yeah.
perfect. And
Yeah.
now I'm getting like all these cavities, but But that's beside the point. Like, I think that as far as like the traumatic stuff, like, I think doctors need to be more focused on like the root cause of like, why
Yes.
is this child or person feeling like this, as opposed to just like, here, just, smoke some weed or, whatever.
Yeah. Yep. We'll
You'll
do some
feel better.
psychedelics and you'll be
Like, or
100%
yeah,
healed after,
psychedelics.
which again,
It's not
these things
that
have
easy.
these things have a place,
Yeah.
but everybody just wants to be able to, like we were talking about psychedelics in the last podcast episode, and she
Yeah.
even says, she's like, it's like laying down a fresh blanket of powder so you can move into a new, like if you're sledding and you have like a groove and you just keep ending up in the same groove,
Yeah.
psychedelics will help lay down like a fresh blanket of powder so you can move the sled. But if you don't move the sled intentionally, like through the therapy and the work that comes with it, like all you do is do the psychedelic stuff and then you just go about your life, it's not going to change anything. It's the
No.
same thing with, CPT and CBT and EMDR and all this stuff. There's a lot of work that goes into it. You can't just take a pill or go to one session and then all of a sudden you're healed. It takes effort and intentionality and, digging in. It's like one of my favorite analogies is like when you're cleaning out a closet and it's just a disaster in there, it gets
Yeah.
so much worse before it gets better. You got to pull everything out and then you
All
got
of
to
it.
organize it and then
Yeah.
you got to start putting it back. And then usually you got to pull it out again because you didn't do it right. And then you got to put it in, and then you got to it's like Tetris. And you got to organize it all. It's like when
Setbacks.
you're going, yeah,
Mhm.
you're gonna have, and then you think you got something stacked up perfectly in the corner, and then it falls over,
Yep.
and it's like, great, now I gotta
Yeah.
start all over, and it's just,
Miles. Start it
yeah,
out again.
yeah,
Like, that's exactly right. I mean, especially like, like with the CPT and stuff that I'm going through, I do all these worksheets and then it's like 3 weeks later, I have to read my traumatic event, like encounter again, and something else comes up. So it's like I'm back to like first
yeah,
week, like, now I gotta deal with that crap,
yep,
and then I'm, like,
yep,
working through all of this and, like, why am I thinking this way, and what would be
and
better,
that's,
and this and that,
I, yep, because I made
Yeah.
a video, I talked to a guy, and I had made a video a while back about discussing therapy and how it gets worse before
It
it gets
does.
better
It
because it's
does.
like
Yeah.
It's like setting a bone, like you've had a bone that's, broken and it's not healed properly. They have to like re-break it and then set
Oh,
it.
yeah.
So you have to go through all this pain again and it gets hard, but it's like when you start working out, it hurts, because your body is breaking down the muscles and it's, you're rebuilding them the right way. You're building them up. And it's like the second someone starts to feel that pain, they're like, nope. And they dip out and they don't want to come back.
Yeah, they
And
don't want
that's,
anything to do with it.
yeah, and it's like I try so hard because this one guy, he was, messaged me and we talked a lot over, I think it was Instagram or Facebook or something. He just kept talking to me and talking, and then he messaged me one day and he's like, "Dude, I can't do this anymore." He's like, "It's like super hard," and I'm like, "I, I told you it was gonna be hard. I told you it was gonna happen." And I'm not saying this because I'm smart. I'm not saying this because I'm better than you. I'm saying this because I've been there and I've done it and it got worse before it got
Oh, yeah.
better. And I got
Uh-huh.
to a point where I was like, I am not going back to that therapist because if I talk about this one more
Yeah.
time, like I'm gonna do something dumb, like, cause it's so bad. And then it got a little better and I was like, okay, I can go again. And then it got a little better. And then I was like, okay. And then I started seeing it getting better and feeling better. And I'm like, okay, maybe this is working. And then, eventually it's like, oh, wow, I really am like a lot further along than I thought I was. And it's getting easier. But you know, I don't like to use too many analogies, but a really good analogy is, remember in Castaway, the movie, when he's going out
Tom
trying to get
Hanks.
out, and the first waves he hits, he's like, he makes it, and then he gets a bigger one, and then he gets a bigger, and then he gets wrecked by like the big wave,
Yeah.
and he gets
Yeah.
pushed all the way back, and but once he got past that big wave, it was pretty straightforward. I
It
mean,
was
it was
pretty
just, I mean,
straightforward.
yeah, it was like the water was, I mean, yeah, it was choppy, but there wasn't these big waves trying to wipe him out. And that's the thing is people quit before they get past that. And it's like, if you would just push past that, endure the pain a little bit longer, endure the misery and the mental anguish you have to get through just to get over that last little hump, it's going to get easier. And I get it. I had a nervous breakdown, at
Oh,
work.
yeah.
And,
Yeah.
it's just,
Yeah.
yeah, I get it. I've been there. I mean,
I
I was in the
get it.
middle of therapy and, and everything came crashing down around me. And I was like, this is
There
it. I'm done,
yeah.
and then,
There have
yeah.
been
So it's,
times when, like, seriously, I've been, like, outside of the building, and I'm like, "I'm not going in there." Like, "I am not gonna talk about my crap again today." Like, I already had a day at work, and I'm like, "I don't wanna even go in." But I go in anyway, because I'm just like, I guess yeah. But sometimes, yeah, seriously, I'm like, "I'd just rather, like, suffer at work
yeah,
and
right.
not go to
Like, I just,
therapy."
like,
Can
yeah,
I just, like, skip it? Yeah.
yep.
If you skip
And
it,
then
then it's game over, then
right.
you're gonna
And then
skip
it's easier to
again
skip
and
the next
again.
time. And then it's easier to skip again. And then it's the same
Yeah.
thing with going to the gym.
Yeah,
Once you
yeah,
stop going to the gym,
yeah.
you skip one morning because you want to sleep in. And it's like, I'm just
Ugh,
going to sleep in.
oh,
And,
yeah.
it's not a big deal once, maybe twice, and then it's just all of a sudden you haven't been in the gym for, 6 weeks because you're just sleeping in and you're enjoying it.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
it's easy to
yeah.
fall into, but it's,
It's really easy to fall into that, like that, skipping your routine and stuff, because but then as soon as you do that, then you're just, like, back to square one, and then you gotta, like, work
yeah,
twice as hard,
yeah.
It's
I will
you know
say it does seem to be easier getting back into it later on than it is the first time. Like the first time getting into a routine or like getting, set up in a solid like habit of life,
Good
a good, getting back into it is easier the second and the third time than it is, because
Yeah.
you're eventually going to fall out of it. Everybody does. Everybody, you go to the holidays come up and you just stop going to the gym and you start eating like crap. And then, you wake up one morning and you're like, oh my word, I'm fat and I need to go back to and I haven't been doing my, whatever you were doing that was positive. You like, I just haven't done it because it was the holidays and I got lazy. It happens. Everybody does
It's
it. But
fun. Cookies
yeah,
are good.
yes, they are good. And my wife makes cookies for a living and they're
Oh, nice,
six,
nice.
8 ounce cookies. And, I'm like eating half-pound cookies and, it's fine.
My
But
cookies are kind of a big deal in this house. Just
yeah.
saying.
Yep. Yep. And they're dangerous. I mean, it's
They're
like, and you start
dangerous,
eating
like,
just a couple, and then it's like, I'm just not going to go to the gym. Yes. I mean, it's
Yep,
such an easy cycle to fall into. But
it
again,
really is.
if you fall into it, it's fine. Everybody does. Just pick yourself
Yeah,
back up
right.
and get back into it.
Yeah,
And it's
yeah,
always easier
100%.
to get back into it later on than it is the first time. The first time's the hardest, I think. Just
Yeah.
getting a routine set. Getting
Yeah,
back
I
into it
mean,
later, it's
don't
like,
they
okay.
say, like, 7 weeks or something to create a routine or something like that, or 7 times to do something? Something
I've
like
heard like 21 days
or
is, like
yeah,
a
something like
good
that.
a good metric. If you can do it for
Derivative of
21 days,
7.
then that's a pretty good, yeah, it's a pretty good, habit forming
Solid
time.
plan. Yeah.
But it's, I yeah, it's easy to slip out of it. I think you got to go a lot longer, but
Yeah, well, the longer the better, like, you
yeah.
just you know yeah, I mean, I think, and when I started the CPT and stuff, like, my doctor, she's like, "It's gonna get harder before it gets better," and I'm like, "What do you mean?" Like,
Yeah.
"I'm here to get better, like, why are
Like
you gonna
that doesn't sound good at all. I hate that. Like
what
what?
am I
No.
signing up for? Like, this sucks. I don't wanna do
Yep.
this," but no,
Like
like,
what? Yeah.
she's totally cool, she's like, "You got this. You got this." And I was like, "Okay." And she's like, "Okay, you have homework." And I'm like, "Oh,
Yeah.
great, I have homework."
Now,
So,
when you
I
got your when
yeah.
you got your therapist, was it did you just go to one or did you try a couple different ones or was it just kinda
So,
like a
I
good fit the
actually
first time?
no, I got lucky, and
Yeah.
the first one that I went to, I really liked her, and so I've just been going to her. Her name's Katie. She's amazing. Yeah, I love it.
And that's one thing that I've been trying to tell people because 'cause they're like, "Well, I tried therapists and it didn't work." I'm like, "Then you gotta try again." I mean, you gotta
Oh.
find the right fit because you have to find someone you can
You gotta
trust, and
if you
it's,
don't, like, click with somebody, it's game
yeah.
over.
Yep.
When I was going through my divorce and stuff, I went to a therapist, and, she went out of practice, but if she wouldn't have been out of practice, I would have been right back with her because she was
Yeah.
awesome. But like, you know, she asked the right questions, and you know, if somebody you feel like put off or whatever, you know, you don't like mesh, you know, you can't like
Yeah.
open up, you know. So you definitely have to find like the right person, and yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. It's one of those, y- y- yeah, you've got to find the right people. And, sometimes you may not. Because you gotta find a good mix of they're a good therapist and you can trust them. Because sometimes you have someone who's a really great therapist, but you just don't like them at all, and other times you really like somebody, but they're a terrible therapist. So it's like you gotta find a good mix, and
Yeah,
sometimes you may have a little less on the side of, like, I don't necessarily I wouldn't hang out with this guy at, like, a barbecue, but he's a really
right.
good therapist and I trust him. So
Yeah.
again, and we also, I think as veterans, we have to get over "Well, they're not a veteran, so I can't trust them." Like, that's not there are
Right.
so many like really, really good people in this world that never served in the military. And there's a lot
Oh,
of really bad people that did serve in the military. So don't even get on this whole
yeah.
trip of like, oh, you're a veteran, so you must be, they're the only good people. Like you obviously don't know very many people that served in the military because there's a lot of turds that were in the
I know a lot of
military and
people, like,
yeah, yeah. And like they never did anything when they were in. They don't do anything when they're out. They're just
they
not
didn't do
good people.
anything.
So
Yeah.
it's,
Yeah, we had a
yeah,
guy
we
like
got to get
that.
over that.
Come to think of it,
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Where I think it was like after 9/11 or something, I had like gate guard, you know, duty. I was like the NCO on duty or something, and this guy came back late from chow, and he like got up in my face. He's like, "I'm not," and I was like, "You know what? You have a great day, Private.
Yeah.
I'll be talking to
And
you later." Because I swear
yeah.
to God, he almost punched me, and his buddy held him back like this. And I was like, you have a great day. I'm going to take care of this. And I went to the sergeant major.
Yeah. The
The
best
guy
thing
was
about the
gone. I
military
was
is
like, "You giving
there's
this guy
chains
a
of
weapon?
command.
Like,
Yeah.
what the
Yeah.
heck?"
There's chains of command, and it's fine because I know who you are now, and I'm just gonna go
Yeah.
to your chain of command, and that's fine.
And that's what I did. I went, and his chain of command was like right inside the main gate. And I was like, "Sergeant Major, got to talk to you about a
You
soldier of yours." And
you
it
have a
was like
great
game
day.
over for that
Yeah.
guy.
Yep. My
Yeah.
word. Some people. Well, I know it's about 3 o'clock. I don't know if you need to get going. I know there's it's
Yeah, I probably got to pick up the
it's
kids soon.
yeah,
Yeah.
I gotta go help get the our kids and everything else.
I'm
So,
like a
but I
mom
really,
tax.
yeah, yeah. Hey, what are you doing? Are you coming or what?
Mom, where's she going?
Yeah, yeah. But no, I've really enjoyed the conversation. I'm really glad that you're able to come on
100%.
and talk about it
Yeah. Thank
and
you
just
for
be
having me on
open.
here.
Yeah,
I was really honored to be on your podcast and like, share my story and stuff. So it was, opening up about MST is really difficult, but I mean, I had a really great time, and I just hope that, you know, if there's a veteran out there that's struggling, please stay. This world is like a better place with you in it, Just don't just get some, there's somebody out there that'll help you, you know.
absolutely.
Somebody
And you're
was
not
willing to
alone.
help me, and I'm like a hot
Yep.
mess. So I got
Right.
tinnitus, and I got this, and then bursitis, whatever else itis, but no.
All the
Yeah,
itises.
all the
Yeah.
itises, right?
Yep.
Sweet.
Oh man. But yeah, no, it's a very good message that you have and a very good story. And I'm glad that you're willing and able to tell it. And I would encourage you to keep telling it, and just help as many people as you can with it. Cause I know that it will help somebody. And if
Yeah,
it's just
I hope
even just a
so.
couple of people, that'll
I
definitely make a
hope so.
difference. So,
Yeah.
but thank you again, Sarah. And
Yeah,
if you want to come back on sometime, we can always do it again and have another conversation if there's more stuff you
sure.
want to talk about.
Part 2, let's
And
do
you know,
it.
yeah. Well, again, thank you for coming on, and I hope you have a good rest of your day,
Yeah,
and
you too,
look forward
Evan.
to seeing you around.
Okay, thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Hey guys, quick reminder, if you enjoyed the episode today, don't forget to like and subscribe. Also, go to whatever platform you listen to these podcasts on and leave a review. That's the best way to help us out. It gets a lot more traffic to us. So again, if you liked it, like, subscribe, and leave a review. All right. Love you guys.